Have you ever apologized just because you needed to sit down for a moment and then it hit you and you wondered, since when did listening to your body become something to be ashamed of? Or felt awkward asking the doctor for a third appointment this month? Maybe you have offered an apologetic smile a few times, simply for blanking on an acquaintance's name at a family get-together. But have you ever asked yourself, why on earth should I apologize for those things? After 60, life isn't such a rush, but unfortunately many of us still carry a weight, not our age, but the feeling of always needing to keep up appearances, to not be a bother, to act like we're still young. A 70-year-old woman still puts on makeup for a trip to the market because she's worried neighbors might think she's unwell. Nobody told her she had to look perfect, but she dreads those pitying glances more than her wrinkles showing. And so we say sorry for things that are perfectly natural. Things our bodies and souls need to thrive. But here's the truth. You don't need to apologize for being true to yourself. Research from American Gerontology Institutes reveals that older adults who tune into their bodies actually live longer, happier lives than those trying to stay in shape like they did at 40. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a hallmark of the wisdom that comes with age. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 very common things that you absolutely do not need and shouldn't apologize for anymore. Because honestly, you've lived long enough not to have to make excuses for simply being your wonderful, normal self. If these words are resonating with you, please stick around. You might just find a sense of relief, like finally taking off an old, heavy backpack labeled self-doubt. Shall we get started then? All right, let's begin with the first one. Something that seems small, yet it's something so many of us quietly feel bad about. Don't apologize for needing a midday rest. Someone actually had a stroke because they didn't give themselves that 20-minute break. And by the time they realized its importance, it was too late. So are you giving yourself that break today? Many people over 60 feel guilty about resting during the day. This might stem from our work-driven culture, where constant productivity is often seen as the measure of success. Past generations often believed only lazy people napped, or that you shouldn't stop unless you were utterly exhausted. But our bodies at this age are different. They need those quiet moments to recover, to recharge after a long, tiring morning. Numerous studies from Harvard and the Mayo Clinic show that a short nap, about 20 to 30 minutes, midday can boost memory, improve focus, and even lower heart disease risk. An afternoon nap doesn't just restore energy, it also lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, which often makes older adults feel tired and irritable. Consider Mrs. Helen and Mrs. Ruth, both over 70. Mrs. Helen always felt guilty whenever she lay down during the day. Fearing others would see her as weak, she'd push through work and chores until, by evening, she was exhausted, dizzy, and struggled to sleep. Mrs. Ruth, however, had a different approach. After lunch, she'd lie down for 25 minutes, phone off, curtains drawn. Afterwards, she felt alert, happy, and had plenty of energy for a walk or a call with her grandkids. The only difference was one decision, allowing herself that rest or not. When you constantly ignore your body's need for rest, you're forcing it to run on empty, like a car driven endlessly without refueling. Eventually, your body responds with chronic fatigue, insomnia, and even a higher risk of high blood pressure and stroke. And perhaps most alarmingly, you might lose touch with yourself because you've become so used to pushing through that you've forgotten how to listen to your own needs. Start by setting aside a regular rest time, even just 20 minutes daily. Turn off the TV, put your phone away, and lie down quietly. You don't need deep sleep. Just let your body unwind. Don't think of it as lazy. See it as a vital part of living a long, healthy life. You've spent your life caring for so many others. Now it's time to care for yourself, beginning with permission to rest. Don't apologize for it. Be proud that you're loving yourself the right way. And once you allow yourself to rest, you might be surprised. Your mind also feels lighter, less stressed by daily little things. So, similarly, don't apologize, just because you sometimes forget a small detail. Have you ever called your grandchild by the wrong name and felt a cold dread as if you'd deeply failed someone. That day, it wasn't just a name you forgot. You were losing confidence in yourself. And that's the real danger. After 60, memory isn't as sharp as in our younger days. That's perfectly normal. Yet many people feel embarrassed when they forget a grandchild's name, can't recall where they left their glasses, or if they've taken their medication. These minor lapses are often blown up into fears of losing it. So people apologize, withdraw, and become quieter. But the truth is an aging brain is reorganizing, not failing, but rather filtering out less crucial details to hold on to what's more profound and meaningful. According to research from the University of California, as the brain ages, short-term memory processing can slow, making us forget recent events. But long-term memory, analytical skills, and empathy are often well-maintained, sometimes even deepening in older adults. Forgetting an actor's name or where you put something isn't a sign of cognitive decline. It's a normal part of the brain's aging. Take Mr. Tom and Mr. Gary, both over 70. Both sometimes forgot a neighbor's name or a doctor's appointment, but their reactions were starkly different. Mr. Tom, whenever he forgot, would laugh it off, joking, "My brain's just decluttering." And everyone would laugh with him. No one minded. Mr. Gary, on the other hand, would get flustered with each slip, apologize profusely, blame himself, and gradually he became more withdrawn from conversations. He started skipping family dinners. When his family asked, he'd just shake his head. Eventually, no one called him anymore. The difference wasn't memory, it was self-worth. If you constantly feel bad because your memory isn't what it once was, you'll start doubting yourself. That doubt can lead to anxiety, then depression, which truly can impair memory. Worse, you might isolate yourself from conversations and relationships, indirectly leading to loneliness, a known mental toxin for seniors. Older people don't pass away from forgetfulness, but from believing they were losing their value. And when you think you are no longer memorable, you stop trying to be heard. Accept forgetting as a natural part of life. If it helps, use a small notebook, stick notes on the fridge, or set medication reminders. Have someone call you, not just for tasks, but to remind you that you're still here. And when you do forget something, just smile gently and say, "My wise old brain is choosing what's truly worth remembering," because you don't need to apologize for being you. You've lived long enough to know memory doesn't define your worth. What truly lasts is how you make others feel when they're with you, and that never needs an apology. Just like memory, physical health naturally changes over the years. And if our minds deserve understanding, our bodies, even more so, need to be listened to and properly cared for. Older people don't die from treatable illnesses, but often because they put off seeing the doctor. And by the time they seek help, it's sometimes too late. Many people over 60 feel hesitant about frequent doctor visits. Some fear being seen as frail. Others feel like a nuisance for being always sick. And sometimes it's the subtle looks or half-joking comments from family that make them feel guilty, like they're a burden. They start to postpone, endure, and ignore small symptoms. But really, proactively going for checkups is an act of profound self-respect, because only those who truly value their health prioritize protecting it early on. Statistics from the United States CDC show that regular checkups and early detection can cut the risk of serious complications by 30 to 40% in people over 65. Finding high blood pressure, diabetes, colon cancer, or memory issues early can make a huge difference between living well and living with dependence. Colon cancer, if caught early, can mean an extra 10 to 15 years of life. If caught late, it might only be a few months. Visiting the doctor regularly isn't because you're weak. It's because you're investing in a longer, more independent future. Mrs. Linda, 73, from Boise, Idaho, has had regular 6-month checkups since retiring, even without clear symptoms. When her doctor noted slightly elevated cholesterol, she adjusted her diet, started daily yoga, and has it well managed. She says, "I want to be able to look after myself for at least another 10 years, not trouble my daughter in California." Meanwhile, Mr. Finn, 74, from Fort Worth, Texas, used to think, no pain, no problem. By the time severe headaches sent him to the doctor, He had uncontrolled high blood pressure with minor heart complications. Now he takes 3 daily medications and lacks the energy for his old morning walks. Mr. Finn loved his morning dog walks, but since his heart medication, he watches his dog through the window because his doctor warned just a few too many strenuous steps, you could collapse and not recover. Postponing medical visits can let silent conditions turn into real crises. An undetected small tumor, unmonitored blood pressure, could lead to a major health event, stroke, or worse. And the painful part is, much of this could be prevented if you just dared to spend one morning at the clinic. Schedule regular health screenings at least once or twice a year. Put it on your calendar. Ask a relative for a reminder if needed. And at the doctor, don't worry about having too many things wrong. Be proud you're taking your health seriously and responsibly. You don't need to apologize for wanting to live healthier, longer. Every time you walk into that clinic, you're choosing to love yourself. And that's never something to be ashamed of. If you've ever hesitated about a doctor's visit or know someone who is, perhaps share this video with them. And if these thoughts resonate, maybe give us a thumbs up or hit subscribe. So each week we can explore more ways to live healthier and lighter after 60. And once you start focusing on health checkups, the next step often follows naturally. You begin to pay closer attention to what you're eating every day. Our older people called particular just for saying no to cake or soda. But it was that one time being accommodating and eating a little extra that sent them to the hospital, or they never recovered. In America, family get-togethers, church functions, or senior center lunches are great for connection. But they're also where older adults who are mindful about food are often labeled picky, fussy, or a wet blanket. Many, fearing they'll cause a fuss, hesitate to decline sweets, pizza, or sugary drinks, even knowing they'll cause bloating, breathlessness, or blood sugar spikes. They force a smile, eat it, then suffer silently later. Gradually, they learn to stay quiet rather than protect their health. Research from the United States National Institute on Aging, NIA, shows that people 65 and older need diets lower in sugar and salt, rich in vegetables, easy to digest protein, and healthy fats to maintain muscle, memory, and immunity. These careful food choices, often mistaken for fussiness, are actually essential for extending quality of life, avoiding hospital stays, and reducing chronic disease risk. Mr. Daniel, 76, from Sacramento, California, always brings almonds and water to his local church events, knowing the meals often feature many sweets and sodas. Someone once teased him, calling him the dieting old-timer. But when they learned he'd once been hospitalized for a sudden blood sugar spike after eating to please others, their perspective shifted. Conversely, Mrs. Shirley, 70, from Pittsburgh, reluctant to refuse, ate too much salty food at her granddaughter's birthday. That night, she was hospitalized with soaring blood pressure. After that, she started bringing her own food and sticking to her eating plan, and she stopped apologizing for it. Those seemingly small, people-pleasing moments at mealtimes can have big consequences. For seniors, one salty meal can cause swelling. One piece of cake can send blood sugar soaring all night. If this happens repeatedly, it quietly erodes health, leading to headaches, insomnia, chronic fatigue, even sudden hospitalization. Then, who's responsible for that easygoing choice but you? Prepare food that suits your health and bring it along to gatherings. Gently tell others, my stomach's a bit sensitive, so I eat a little differently, okay? Then join in the fun. Eating carefully isn't about being distant. It's how you stay healthily present for future events. You've lived long enough to know what foods agree with you, so don't let anyone make you feel guilty about it. Choosing to eat well isn't being difficult. It's a thank you to the body that's served you for decades. One piece of cake to please someone else could mean you miss all future parties permanently. And when you have learned to care for your body with understanding and respect, you deserve that same treatment in other areas of modern life too. A 79-year-old woman lives quite happily, despite never having used a smartphone. But not everyone feels strong enough to avoid feeling left behind. In today's American society, where everything from banking and doctor's appointments to ordering food is app-driven, Many over 60 feel outpaced, and often they force a smile saying, "Sorry, I'm not good with this," at an automated checkout or when a grandchild shows them an iPad. But even sadder, after each apology, they start feeling useless, a bother, or a burden. So they withdraw, shying away from what they don't understand, not fearing technology itself, but fearing ridicule. A 2023 Pew Research Center survey found 42% of Americans 65 and older feel anxious or lost with new tech. Yet there's no proof that slower tech adoption means less intelligence. It's just the gap between generations living in different worlds. Mr. Carl, 79, from Des Moines, Iowa, doesn't use a smartphone or social media, but his life is full. Weekly landline calls to his sister in Florida, handwritten letters to his faraway grandchild, and a paper calendar for appointments. When a postal worker suggested he download an app for faster tracking, he just smiled, saying, "I'm not fast, but I'm reliable." Conversely, Mrs. Ruth, 71, in Phoenix, struggled to learn FaceTime for her grandchild. Her grandchild blurted, "Grandma, you're so silly. This is super easy, and you can't even do it." Mrs. Ruth stopped trying. Each night, she'd look at her grandchild's photo on her phone, afraid to touch any buttons. A visiting nurse found her quietly crying. Her grandchild's birthday had passed 2 weeks earlier, and she hadn't dared to call. This tech hesitancy can lead older adults to withdraw, reducing social contact, which negatively impacts mental health and longevity. They might avoid calls, miss sending birthday wishes, or fear asking for directions if Google Maps isn't working. And feeling left behind slowly becomes loneliness. You don't need to be an expert in everything. Pick a few genuinely useful tools, like video calls, photo sharing, or YouTube, and ask a relative for patient help. Don't apologize for not knowing. Just say, "I might be a slow learner, but I'm still learning," because learning is never something to be ashamed of. Technology may be new, but human connection is timeless. You don't need to master all tech, as long as you don't lose the will to connect, because a handwritten note can often be warmer than 1,000 emojis. You've just heard 5 things that, after 60, you no longer need to apologize for. It sounds straightforward, but maybe deep down, you still catch yourself feeling guilty for needing a midday break. Still get flustered when you can't recall what you were about to say. Still hesitate to tell family, "The doctor said I should eat this and avoid that." But you know what? None of those things make you weak. Quite the opposite. They show you're slowing down, enough to listen to your body, to truly care for yourself, something not everyone knows how to do. After 60 years, you don't owe anyone an apology for choosing a lifestyle that's kind to you. And if anyone needs to hear this today, it's you. Tomorrow, when you take a deep breath midday and brew a cup of tea, remember, you don't need to apologize for that. It's not about making excuses, but understanding. Living fully isn't about pleasing others, but about cherishing yourself in the smallest ways. If this video resonated with you, perhaps share it with someone who still quietly apologizes, just for moving at their own pace. And if you'd like to share something you've stopped apologizing for, we'd love to hear it in the comments below. We read every single one and truly value your thoughts. Now let's just take a few seconds for a quiet moment, like a deep breath after setting down an old weight, because you need no apology to live as someone who's earned the right to choose themselves every single day.